Rose Donahue, and we are filming at the Quantum Arc Media Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. Today I'll be speaking with James Moore, the associate producer at 5-6 Productions. James, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Hello. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. How's your day been so far?
So far, so good. I haven't melted yet, so I'm okay.
It's warm.
It's a little warm.
Vegas heat.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
It's real.
That's okay. We'll make it.
We're here. We're cool. We've got, I feel like the sound protection almost adds a level of air conditioning.
I feel like I'm in an igloo here. It's very comfortable.
Oh, good. I'm very happy to hear that. Well, thank you again for joining me today.
Of course,
we have
absolutely.
a few fun things to talk about.
Absolutely.
You have been involved in video production, film production, television production for a pretty long time now.
Yeah. I went to school for that, so technically it's been just over 10 years.
10 years.
Off and on a little bit here and there, as struggling, sometimes you got to take jobs you don't like, but overall, yeah, 10 years off and on.
Yeah. Well, to be in the industry, you really just want to stay in it. And sometimes you got to go where the flow takes you.
Especially when you're freelancing, and I do a lot of writing and photography, so sometimes it's a little bit, the river's a little dry as it is, so
right.
Whatever it takes to pay the student loans and buy the ramen noodles.
Right. That's the grind.
Yep, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about your photography first.
Okay.
So it's a freelance thing. It's kind of a passion thing that you pursue.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it started when I was a little kid. I always, I didn't directly like photography, I want to be a photographer. I just always loved it. Mm-hmm. And then once I got into college, I realized, oh my God, you can actually do something with that. Mm-hmm. So that's where I started really focusing in on what types of photography there are and what I could do with it. But yeah, so I mean, really, I've been doing it since I was a little kid. That's when I started loving it. But for the better part of about 12, 13 years, that's how long I've been doing all sorts of photography.
Very cool. And a variety, landscape and portraiture as well.
Yeah. Landscape's my real passion, hobby and all that stuff. But I mean, I do portraiture, wedding. I've kind of delved into everything. Print work, just whatever. Trying to make little odds and ends here, but I mean, it's one of those things it's especially from an artist perspective, it's a great hobby, just like lifelong hobby kind of thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Just point and shoot.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely.
Would you say that you've learned a lot about video because of your interest in photography?
Yeah, I mean that's really what I tell a lot of people is the core of shooting video comes from still photography. So I mean, learning the basics of composition, of framing, of exposure, all that stuff comes from still photography. And so to be able to not necessarily master it in the sense of like the 10,000 hours, but to be able to understand how to frame something, how to light something, how to compose something, that's the base to get into video production. I mean, you go from doing one photo to doing, 23 or 29 photos per second. So you know what I mean? So if you can if you can compose one shot really well, frame it really well, expose it, then you can start doing, video and stuff like that. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no, totally. It does. Well, I mean, video is really just a whole bunch of pictures next to each other.
Strung together, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So my understanding with photography is like weddings are more lucrative, and there's like some areas that are money makers more than others.
Correct.
And I think that's true with video as well,
yes.
Especially depending on where you are.
Right.
So in Vegas, would you say that convention coverage was the primary moneymaker in this town? Yeah,
I mean, on the topic of still photography, the weddings, convention coverage, there's not a lot of Ansel Adams, Peter Licks, Clint Owen, and Andrani in New York. There's not a lot of people who do, Beyonce's cover for a magazine, or who are able to sell like, oh, these are my pictures of the Cascades, and sell them to make a living. So a lot of people who are still photographers or video makers, the money, the bread and butter, your everyday paycheck comes from doing conventions, doing weddings, doing small print work, portraiture, corporate stuff like that. Yeah, so but there, and while it might not be where you're passionate at as far as what you're trying to really focus on, if you have the right mindset and you have the right attitude, there's still art, there's still creativity, there's still something to be had from it.
Of course,
Even if you're just doing headshots, I mean, to do a really nice, good headshot, that's something. There's something to be said for that.
That's absolutely true. And to have everything look nice, taking the photo, to have the client feel comfortable, and then also getting everything just right in post.
Absolutely.
It takes a certain level of skill.
Yeah, because you're as much of a salesman and a host or hostess as you are an artist and a technician.
Right.
Because if you're taking pictures and making everyone feel awkward, you're not going to sell yourself. Yeah.
This is my corporate headshot. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Totally. So circling back to the convention coverage, I understand that you guys at 5/6 do a fair amount of that type of work.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to just talk a little bit more about both conventions, trade shows. What are the things that you usually run into, the issues you run into there that would be different from other projects?
Sure. Yeah. So that is something that we do a lot of. At 5/6, we're lucky enough to be able to do the creative stuff and not just be stuck in the corporate convention, which is a huge, gigantic slice of what happens in Vegas that isn't on the Strip, as far as live production.
Sure.
But that is one of the biggest things that we do is conventions. It's corporate work. So it could be anything from being hired by a company to film their booth at the convention center at a trade show. It could be getting general coverage. Maybe a company wants to hire you to go around CES and just get the general coverage of everything. Let them experience what's happening. I mean, sometimes we'll be sent out by the CEO of this company because maybe he can't make it, so he wants to know, well, what happened? Show me what's cool, what's going on. It could be being in a hotel suite for 3 days at Mandalay Bay shooting interviews because all of a sudden you have all of the C-suite players, all of the big engineers in one place at one time. So a lot of companies like to take advantage of that.
Definitely.
And some of the problems that arise, some of the main points of it are that you have to be flexible because you're working on a truncated timetable. These companies spend a fortune to be here, to get their little booth and to make these videos. It costs a lot. So you have to be flexible. You have to work fast, and you have to be able to deliver. If you want to keep getting hired again to get that paycheck, so you're not a starving artist. You have to be willing to or able to provide a really high quality video. Do something that all the other players in town aren't doing. So whether that. It's not just you have a beautiful image and you got some good interviews, but it's also being really personable, making them feel comfortable, delivering beyond their expectations. And I mean that doesn't you don't have to blow them away and add CGI, but it's the overall experience that you're delivering to your client is what's most important.
Have you ever had clients that don't really know what they're asking for?
No. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of times we're hired by somebody and they're it could be a tech company and they know engineering and they know developing software. They have no idea what goes into video production because why would they? That's not their industry. All they know is we have 8 people that we really want to get interviews with, and we'd love to have some sort of video to show that we were a part of this convention and all that stuff. That's great. Give it to us and let us deliver what you want. So then it becomes us asking them questions like what all do you want to get out of the video?
Right.
What do you want to get from the interviews? Like what is your end goal? And so when they're able to explain like kind of what they're getting, we're able to say, or what they're wanting, we're able to take that and say, great, well then this is how we'll do the interviews. This is the kind of coverage we'll get, and this is the video or videos that we'll deliver that you'll be able to then take and put on your website, show to prospective clients, use for commercial work, use in the future, whatever they want. And so that's kind of where our responsibility and one of the challenges that comes with delivering a high quality product is being able to take somebody who they know they want a sandwich, but they don't know what goes in. They don't know how to make bread. They don't know how to slice the vegetables. So it's us saying, okay, well, you tell us that you want a sandwich, and we'll make it happen. They want a video. They want material. that's cool. Leave it to us. We'll take
Yeah.
care of it, and we'll help you along the way. And if you have changes, that's great. But otherwise, that's what we do, and that's what we've done for a long time, even well before when I was with 5-6. That's what we focus on, is delivering above and beyond, and being able to take these folks who may or may not know exactly what they want and delivering above and beyond.
Awesome.
And coming from somebody who didn't ever imagine getting into corporate, it's kind of a cool thing. Like, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm not working with Spielberg in LA, but you can take pride in the fact that I'm making a really cool video and delivering something for these people, and they really love it. So,
Totally. Are there any like weird rules usually in convention spaces about video?
It just varies from convention to convention. Sometimes there are some shows where you can pretty much run around and do whatever you want, especially the bigger shows. When you get to the SEMAs, the CES, NAB, there's so many people, and it's such a gigantic show. Usually it's pretty loose. I mean, you basically, if you have a badge, you can get on the floor and you can start shooting. Some shows you can't have you have to have a lens cap on your camera at all time unless you're filming who you were hired by. Sometimes you might be hired by a company who has a booth, and you can't leave the proximity of their booth. You can't be in the aisleway. You can't shoot from anyone else. You can't get anyone else's branding. And a lot of times, your client doesn't want other people's thing. You're shooting for Ford and Chevrolet or Hondas across the way. They don't want their branding. So, so it's a lot of. There are a lot of little rules. You just have to go with the flow of what's going on. If ask your client what all they want, and then we kind of just push the bounds.
Yeah.
We don't ever want to impede on anybody or make enemies, but we'll go until we're told to stop. So we'll shoot until someone says stop
whatever
shooting.
you can.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, once you have it.
Right. And it's always better to ask forgiveness than ask permission.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
For sure. So for conventions, do you do much script writing with them, or would you say that's more of a commercial?
There's not a lot with conventions. Most any sort of writing or pre-production that would go on in the convention space is more question writing for interviews. But usually if that comes down to us, it's usually handled by when a producer will come in for the shoot. They already have their questions. They have the material that they want to get. So a lot of the script writing happens more in the commercial space. And that's not necessarily a commercial you'll see on TV, but it could be commercial in the sense of you might have a company like, let's say, IBM or something coming in town, and they want convention coverage. They have these interviews, but maybe they also want to create a small video on the side.
Oh, sure.
Then you'll start getting into the script writing kind of space with that. But again, it just varies from place to place. And again, even with all that being said, on the commercial side, and even in like a television commercial, a script in those boundaries, it's a lot more outlined than it is hard pressed like you would get in a television show or a film.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because as you were saying, you get all of the power players in one space for the company. It might be an international company.
Absolutely.
So they're not gonna memorize a script right in the middle of a week-long convention.
The CEO who came in from Korea doesn't have the time to memorize anything. You're lucky if you have 10 minutes with him.
Right. He has his bullet points.
So you're sitting there waiting 30 minutes before they even get up there. They get in, you try not to upset him. Film, hopefully it was in focus, and you let him go. So,
right.
but you do get some script writing and some and maybe not necessarily a hard and fast script, but more of a creative outline and a kind of creative direction for the video. You do get that, which is a lot of fun, because then again it gets you out of we set up a green screen and we just press record, and then 10 hours later we get to see the sun again. It gets you more into the creative space of, okay, cool, this is where we need to go and this is what we can do with it. So then that is a fun aspect of it.
Because it does help to have kind of an end goal and product that you're working with, rather than, we'll just get this interview and we'll edit something together.
Right.
Like, that's not the most realistic.
Right. And I mean, some people love just shooting from the hip. I'm more of let's do an outline and let's go by this so we know we have everything. Right. But then also because I like script writing I enjoy that aspect more.
Right.
But a lot of times it is just go with the flow.
Right.
What happens.
Right. Well.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of script writing, you were kind enough to write me up a nice little mock script, which I'm so into. You all at home can check this out. We'll put it on our Facebook so you can read along with us because I want to talk about it for a minute.
Sure.
So I'm just gonna read it out so that
Yeah.
people know what's going on.
Sure.
As I said, it's a mock script, and it's for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Golden Knights, they're
Excited
the hot topic in
They're
town here.
they're big.
Yes, they are.
They're so hot right now.
So hot. Cancel, they're so hot.
Yeah. Blue steel. All right, I'll try to do a dramatic reading.
Oh, okay.
All right. The arena is empty, dark, quiet. A light illuminates the home bench as we hear noise from the eager Golden Knights players on the bench. Epic music starts low. A light shines on the large section of seats as we hear the roar of the crowd. The music raises up just a little bit. A light illuminates freshly cut center ice with the Knights logo boldly painted. The sounds of skate sticks and the puck are heard as the music raises in intensity and volume. More light pours on the seats. Multiple sections near the glass are doused in golden light as the sound of the crowd intensifies. The cuts are quicker now. Golden Knights is chanted by hundreds as the camera cranes up on the arena concourse, filled with food and merchandise vendors. The music intensifies still. A spotlight shines straight down on Marc-Andre Fleury, fully dressed in gear and jersey, standing in front of the goal. Drums and epic music reach a fever pitch. Thunderous drums bang in unison as the music stops suddenly. Everything goes black. The camera dollies across the now illuminated championship banners as the epic music slowly and quietly begins again, favoring strings such as violin. Slow shot. Master shot of T-Mobile Arena at sunset. Graphic of Las Vegas Golden Knights along with season tickets promo. Voiceover. 2018-19 Vegas Golden Knights tickets on sale now. Be here and support the Knights' defense of the Western Conference Championship.
Scene.
Makes me want to go to a game.
Yeah.
I read this. I was like,
you.
well, okay, James. Seriously.
Well, thank you.
So, this script is very much descriptive of the space.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of words happening in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is completely dependent upon lighting and camera movement and then sound design.
Okay, right. Mm-hmm. So those are the things I was kind of curious about, how do you do you have a checklist when you write a scene where you're like, okay, I need to be sure to be very clear about what this looks like and how to get that emotion from someone?
When I first started writing scripts, it was actually right out of high school. A friend and I started writing treatments, or what we thought was a treatment for a television show we thought we wanted to do. And basically, I would have an idea in my head about this is my story, these are my characters, and I would just start writing. And new characters would come in different events, and then I'd be like, "Whoa, I need to go somewhere," and so I would just pick a spot, and I would do it very linearly.
Okay.
They were awful scripts. Every single one of them, all 12 of them were just horrible. Uh-huh. So I did some research and did some reading by some different books and different blogs by really great screenplay writers. And the thing I learned was outlining. So you have your idea and you just start outlining and you grow it and grow it and grow it. So to the point of, with something like this, the idea I had in my head was, do something where we're trying to pitch some sort of Las Vegas tickets. We're trying to sell tickets for the Knights. So what would do that? How can we do that? Well, I don't want just a talking head.
Yeah.
So the first idea was, let's tell the story. Let's get people excited with sounds, with images, with lights, with camera movement, all that. So that's where I start.
Yeah.
Is right there. Is how do I want to tell a story? And then from there, I just go down the list of. So for this one in particular, I said, what are the awesome, exciting aspects of the game? The bench where the players are, the sounds that it makes while they're on the ice, the seats, because that's what we're trying to sell the seats. So
right.
You want to sell the seats, but I don't want to fill the seats with people because that's going to take away. I want to see the beautiful patterns, the lines of the seats. I want it to be artistic because that's what's going to get people excited. Is all these different elements. I want it to be like a sensory overload with lights and sounds, and get people in the environment of the hockey game, because
Sure.
especially here in Vegas, I grew up in Colorado with an NHL team, and so I already had the love of like hockey and sports and stuff like that going in. It was so cool watching all the people in Vegas who had never seen a hockey game in their life go to a game and go, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And it's like, yes, it is. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So, and what that is,
It's fast.
it's fast, and there's sound, and it's loud, and it's intense, and it's quick. So that's the idea. So when I take something like this, I want to take the aspects, the sensory overload that is hockey, and deliver that in this. So when I go, so bringing back to your point, when I take something like this, I have no dialogue. So the thing with scripts is show, don't tell. You can't tell the audience how to feel. You can't tell them what to look at, what to see. You have to put in your script. You have to give the direction to the cinematographer, to the sound designer, to the director. Show them this. Show them. And how are we going to do that? So it's, to me, writing is like photography. You're painting. You paint a picture for them with your words. So I take something like, for instance, let's see, the fourth section down, Golden Knights is chanted by hundreds as the camera cranes up on the arena concourse. So I want you to hear the sound of
all the voices,
the multitudes of fans. And again, and with this, I'm painting it in the concourse, giving you the full experience of the game.
I do have a follow-up question. So you've created the scene for a viewer. Yeah. How do you translate that in a technical way when it comes to actually shooting?
Sure. So with that, that's where understanding the principles of production and understanding sound design, understanding the aspect, the shooting part of it, the directing. So if I'm kind of getting what you're trying to get at is
because there are some very specific words like cuts get quicker, camera cranes to do this, camera dollies to do this.
Sure, like, and a lot of times, so that specific, a lot of times if you're writing a script and you're not going to be shooting it, you don't do this, because you're telling the DP, you're telling the sound designer, you're telling the editor how to do their job, and and you're taking away creative control, and you're forcing them down one path. And it's hard to do for a writer because this is your baby, but you don't normally do that. Now, in an instance like this is necessary to tell the story. So the cuts, where it says the cuts are getting quicker, I need that to happen. From a writing point of view, I'm telling the editor, you need to do this in order to create the mood that I've put here. If you cut it slow, it won't work, because you're not going to develop the energy and the feeling behind it. The camera cranes, I want it to crane. Now, if you want to use a drone, that's fine, but the reason I want it to crane is a specific reason. I want it to crane because I want to come out on the shot and show the expansiveness of it. I want to move with the crowd, because and I'm telling the sound designer, I want to move from a consolidated bit of sound, and I want you to spread it throughout the speakers as we move back to show the expansiveness of the crowd. The same as if you're walking in the crowd and all of a sudden you're able to kind of fly up and say, oh my God, it's not 3 voices around me, it's 100 voices around me. Camera dolly. So obviously you're not dollying up 100 feet above the ground where the things are, but it's the dolly move. So I mean, it's the technical move. I want you to go slowly across there, because I want to punctuate that they got their championship, because that's a point of pride, and that's going to draw interest. Master shot, just because that's what we're going to end on. And I'm telling, and again, that you're kind of in a place where you're telling the director and the DP how to do their job, but it's for a reason. So if it didn't need to be a master shot, I wouldn't put that in there, but it needs to be, because I want to bookend, because I don't have an intro master. I want to bookend what I'm on is right here. So that's what the technical aspects come from.
Sure.
But again, I wouldn't do that if it wasn't necessary, because you don't want to tell people how to do their job.
Right.
It's a big,
right. It's a balancing act.
Nobody in production is sensitive at all.
Actors are never sensitive.
No, you don't want to tell people how to do their job, and you don't want to take away creative possibilities beyond. Because as a writer, you have something in your mind, but you have to trust that the director, the actors, the sound designers, the producers, that they're good at their jobs. That's why they're here. They can take maybe what you had in your mind isn't the best way to do it. So you don't want to always tell people how to do it. You don't want to pigeonhole them into one way to go.
Right.
But if it's necessary, such as telling them, how to do the edits with the cuts, how to move the camera, why to do it, and how to light, for instance, like splashing gold light. I want to do that because it tells the story, and it's necessary to do that. And that's where understanding all aspects of production come in handy as a writer.
Right.
Yeah.
That would certainly be handy. Cool. So you wouldn't always tell people what to do.
Hardly ever.
But sometimes it is important.
Rarely ever tell someone what to do, but in some cases, and again, that's just something you develop as you begin to understand production more and more, and as you develop your own writing style is sometimes telling people what to do.
When necessary.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I appreciate that so much.
Sure.
I want to end with one really quick, fun question.
Okay.
I saw that you participated in casting for Bad Girls Club. Can you just tell like a quick fun fact about doing that?
Okay, yes. I was fortunate enough after college, I was living in Phoenix at the time, a little bit cheaper than LA. Had a friend who I went to college with who was working with Bunna Murray, who I'm not sure, I think they're still doing reality TV. Long and short, she said, hey, if you want some PA work, I've got a bunch of stuff coming to Phoenix. I said, oh, great, whatever it is, just send it my way. So one of them came in the form of working with the casting director, came out. I didn't know what show it was going to be. Get there and you know, she's doing all the production assistant jobs. And I look at the forms and it says Bad Girls Club. I've never heard of this show. So by the third day, I'm well aware of what the show is. And it got to the point where we were prefacing each group that came in, no physical fistfights. That's not going to get you on the show. We don't care which basketball player you're all dating. And we had girls in the same. We would have multiple girls in the same group who were both dating the same basketball player.
Oh no.
The same football player.
Oh my.
I didn't. I've never seen the show, but I feel like I've been on it.
Oh, I bet.
It was that was a fun experience. That's not really my style of television, but getting two girls going, realizing they're both dating the same basketball player is pretty interesting.
That sounds interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for everyone at home, you can check out Bad Girls Club. It's a reality TV show. It's pretty dramatic.
You may or may not be disappointed.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Way to put it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was
awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely
for sure.
awesome.